Right, we're rolling. On this podcast, we'll be talking about different areas of business and all things marketing. My name is Dave Doyle.
And I'm Dave Alton. This is Social Antics, another marketing podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Social Antics. I am being told to stop by Dave. What's wrong with you, Dave?
I haven't fucking put my thing on flight mode yet.
You're not ready?
I'm not ready, no.
Do you know, I thought you said, was it last week or the week before, that you do all your research now in the week coming up and you're very prepared.
I do, absolutely. And in case you haven't noticed with you, the last 2 weeks, I've been up the fucking walls. I've no time. This podcast is like, it was grand as Sarah was like, oh yeah, one weekend or one weekday and evening and grand, or one weekday evening. Jesus Christ,
one evening a week.
One evening a week. And I was just like, no, I don't have any evenings a week. The evenings are gone.
Obviously, you're kind of at that time of the year now where your last bits of corrections and stuff going in. Obviously,
yeah, they're kind of done. It's more now you're supervising dissertation students and students are out in placement.
Okay.
Which is
dissertations for masters and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so usually those would be out in placement and stuff like that, and their company would set them some sort of a challenge, and you would do research around that challenge and present kind of findings.
That's interesting. How was it a lot more challenging this year to actually get placement for students?
Very, very difficult. Yeah, very, very difficult. And even we spoke about it multiple times before, the socialization process. Like a lot of these guys, okay, they may have worked in bars and stuff, but they've never worked in a corporate type kind of scenario. Now a lot of them are in situ in the businesses because businesses are opening up again, but a lot of the bigger multinationals that would take quite a lot of students, it wasn't so much like, it wasn't as if they weren't taking students, but just the socialization process for students is a bit more difficult.
At home kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's difficult, like, and it's very hard to, if you're out in placement, a lot of students would take up their own initiative. They do courses provided by the company, or they go out on sales routes, or they go a multitude of different things. Difficult to do that, even from a social media perspective, trying to create content without being on site. Very, very difficult, strange. Do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting.
And would you say more of the bigger the corporate companies are more open to taking students, or would you get a mix of both?
Oh no, we get a mix. We get a big mix. You'd get
because you always hear the usual,
as opposed to a little mix, which is the very popular girl band in the UK. But we get a big mix.
Did that play out better in your head?
It did. Yeah, it sounded funnier when I was saying it. But but no, you get everything. You get students going to startups, public sector, multinational corporations. You get them going to kind of high growth potential companies like the teamwork.com, for example. So we get a very, very a big eclectic mix of different companies, then also different roles in those companies, well, from marketing, kind of HR, operations, supply chain, across the board, really.
It's interesting. I know it's just hearing students going on placement last year, and they're finding stuff and they're all talking about it. And this year I was just wondering, how difficult it was. Like, obviously it is.
No, it is. No,
next year it's better.
No, it's definitely more difficult. And even from a data collection point of view, like if you were to go out and like before, even if you had let's say we had a student last year and they were working with a retail product, and part of their research was about doing mystery shopping within stores. Where the placements were consumer stopping, looking at price, compare, all the kind of stuff that you would typically do in a kind of a research environment. And obviously during COVID, you can't have a student just hanging around a fucking supermarket, So little things like that, getting interviews with people, much more difficult. Even though conducting the interviews is less time consuming, actually doing the interviews is more so. So no, it's tough. Like we've got a lot of our the research is now kind of gravitated online, so using online sources and then doing things like content analysis on brand social media pages, ethnographic studies, things like that. But again, it's typically speaking, we kind of offer a multi-method approach whereby they use different methods to come up with the different findings. But it's become a little bit more restrictive. But they're making a good fist off it now, in fairness.
Good stuff. Before we get into the news this week, I'm going to tell a story of you where marketing let you down at the weekend.
Did it?
It did.
I can't remember this now at all.
We took a trip down and we got a bag of chips in the chipper on Saturday.
We did.
And you were standing all excited with yourself because you were going to get something. Do you remember this now? You remember you were going to get the whatever the place supper or whatever it was.
Oh, the prawn scampi. The prawn scampi. You said, try our delicious prawn scampi. It was written in chalk.
And we were standing in the queue, I'd say, for a good 40 minutes.
It was a long queue, yeah. It was a long queue.
And by the time you got there,
it was fucking gone. And they didn't fucking rub it out. I wouldn't mind if it was a static feature, like, but, do you know? Fucking rub it out.
Chalkboard job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the name of it? The chipper's name was good. Fips and...
Oh yeah, fish. Trying to do it backwards now.
Fips and
instead of fish and chips, it'd be Fips and
whatever it was anyway.
Down Crosshaven on the left.
Down Crosshaven on the left hand side. It was good when you could read it, not so much when you're
fish
remembering
and hips, was it? Fish and hips or something.
No,
like that.
hips are the things that you get replaced when you're in your 80s.
Yeah, it was good though. It was good. So I'll plug out to them, but change the sign if you're running.
Yeah.
So what exciting popped up for you this week in the world of marketing or business?
The most exciting thing I think was there was a report from Axios 2 days ago where it's kind of been heavily rumoured that Netflix are going to get into gaming, and as well as being the kind of the streaming or the primary streaming platform for movies and for series and stuff like that, they're also now going to branch into the gaming space as well, which I think is very, very exciting. Not just from a kind of the business model kind of remains the same, but I think there's a kind of there's an opportunity for hybrid shows, shall we say, which could change people's viewing experience into the future. So I don't know if you watched Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Is this like actual gaming, like as in like PlayStation 4 kind of gaming, like?
Yeah, basically, okay, yeah. No, it's going to be predominantly associated with the studios who they already do films, or where they already films with. So Resident Evil, for example, would be popular on Netflix, and there's also a popular game. But then they'd also partner with some of the indie companies as well, to kind of produce content in that regard. Now again, there is limited information in terms of how this is going to work, but I suppose again that hybrid of gaming and viewing is something that Netflix have been experimenting with. So I don't know if you watched Black Mirror Bandersnatch, where basically you were watching the television program, but then you controlled what the character did next, and then that changed the direction of the overall show, which is an interesting way of looking at it.
I remember doing that on something else before. It's not what you said there, but it was something similar like that. Yeah. There was loads of different outcomes of the movie.
That's what it basically is. Yeah, and they did that with Bandersnatch. So again, the gamification of certain viewing experience obviously makes things more immersive. People are more, it's not going to be background noise because you actually have to engage with the piece of content. Does that offer opportunities for brands building awareness to integrate themselves more into content creative, all that kind of stuff? So I think it's an interesting direction, and again it just shows you that all these companies are again vertical content, different industries dominating, which is again interesting.
I think I'm using more so and gravitating more towards actually Disney Plus at the moment. I think a lot of the content going out on there since they added the whole star feature, but I think
fucking child.
I know, yeah. But I think their platform, I actually like it a lot more than Netflix. I think Netflix is starting to get a bit stale for me, and a bit boring. There's not enough new content coming out on it.
But the difference is, which is irritating enough about Disney, is that so Netflix's algorithm is very, very clever in that it changes the thumbnail depending on what you're interested in, and also then it changes your feed depending on what your past viewing history is. Everyone's Disney is the exact same.
True, yeah.
Which is a bit frustrating, particularly when you look at the Star feature, because Star is just an eclectic mix of everything. Do you know what I mean? So you do want that narrowed down kind of a small bit, you know. But Disney, to be fair, like Disney has the opportunity to. I think out of all those companies, even Prime, Netflix and so on, they are the company that could be the most dominant in that area because they've got the parks and they've also got the brand.
It's just a whole 360 thing, like they have absolutely everything.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that, again, this idea of having a subscription service whereby if you are subscribed to Disney and you get first access to Star Wars, you can go on Disney cruises, you can go to their parks, all this kind of stuff.
They're pushing it big time at the moment with the Cruella one, but like I just think the whole viewing thing is going to go that way. They're seeing that they don't need cinemas. They will keep people on the app by, like, they're pushing out one of the Star Wars that's coming down the line. It's 2 or 3 months away.
Yeah.
But they're pushing it now, in knowing that people will, like, no, I'll wait for that show. While waiting for that show, they've just got another 40-50 quid out of you by waiting.
And it depends as well. So if you take, so they are obviously looking at this going, okay, when someone goes to the cinema, they're paying 15 quid a ticket.
Yeah.
Then you're getting your popcorn, small or large, because you're going to be combo marketing, and then you're going to and between all of that, your petrol, all the rest of it adding up. Like, I mean, if you're bringing a family to the cinema, you're talking 60-80 quid, whatever the story is. They're saying, well, no, you can, get your Just Eating or getting your own popcorn and stuff like that. We'll sell it to you for 30, and you then have full access to that going forward. So, like, when I saw it now the last day, because I heard about this idea that now you're paying for films even though you're also paying a subscription, and I was like, cheeky bastards. But at the same time, because the subscription is so small, would you be willing to pay? Like, I mean, like, am I going to pay 30 quid for Cruella? No, I'm not. Would I pay 30 quid with a gang of mates for Star Wars? Yeah, you would. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's different now.
They have to sell that package as, as you said, get the Just Eat, get the few beers, get the lads.
Oh yeah, get it. And that integration, those integrations are going to start happening, I think.
Flipping it around then, if you look at something like Spotify or whatever, we've talked about them a good bit. If they turned around and started saying, get the exclusive whatever new album is coming out, would people pay for it? I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm not a big, like, I'm not. Like, I'd be the kind of, I like music, I like listening to it, but I wouldn't.
You go and buy it.
I wouldn't go rush to get an album. I'm not that kind
just
of.
Just interesting for anyone that does, like, that's into, look, that whole area has kind of gone bang and wallop in terms of bringing out music. All the money is in the live, which is obviously, that's why all the entertainment industry is up in heap from the last year, because they can't do the gigging. But I don't think.
Wallop.
What? Bang and wallop. It's a technical term.
That's the name of the episode anyway. Bang and wallop.
It's all gone down. We call it that, will we? Bang and wallop. I like that. It's like normally you come out with the shite, like, off the top of your head. But it'd be interesting. I don't think they'll ever get away with that kind of model of exclusivity. Unless it's
well, they are already with Joe Rogan and stuff like that.
You don't pay to get exclusive content on Spotify.
No, not the as in there is exclusive content on Spotify, but it is not. You don't pay extra for that exclusivity. You pay your subscription.
No. You pay to get Spotify.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's interesting.
But again, I could see things going that way. Like, I mean, there are people out there that would happily pay €1 per episode of Joe Rogan. They would, like, absolutely no doubt about that. And then it depends on your business model changes. Then, right? Are you going for volume and making your money through things like advertising, data, play, and all the rest of it, or are you going for a narrow audience where
it's an exclusive
you're generating
group or whatever?
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it depends on what business model they want to go for. No, I think Disney are getting. They've got the balance about right, I think.
They put out an article again today. I think I saw it on LinkedIn. The Disney Corporation, not just Disney Plus, but that they were going to make a more conscious effort again. I think we talked about this a few months ago, but they were going to make a conscious effort again to make less stereotypes in their advertising, and gender equality and all this kind of stuff in their advertising. They put out another post about
Disney.
Today. Yeah.
This is the same company that a couple of months ago filmed Mulan in the Xinjiang region of China, where basically there's a court of. You've just thrown this on me now, so I'm going to get some of the phraseology wrong, but there's a certain court of Muslims that are there's basically an ethnic cleansing kind of thing going on with the Chinese Communist Party, and they filmed in that region. So again, Disney say one thing, but do the other kind of a thing. Do you know what I mean? So
they're Disney. They can get
I'm pretty sure they actually thanked the Chinese Communist Party in the credits of Mulan. I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, we'll have to pull that out. So anything else pop up for you this week, Dave? Actually, before you go any further, did you see Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yeah, I reckon the marketing director for Coca-Cola and the subsequent sponsorship manager, whoever that is absolutely furious right now.
Mr. Pepsi though is delighted.
Oh, Mr. Pepsi's after going out for a few drinks, I'd say, more than likely.
For anyone that didn't see it, basically in the press conference, Cristiano Ronaldo sat down, 2 bottles of Coke in front of him. He was sitting beside someone else, and there was 2 bottles of Coke in front of each of them. He sat down, looked at them, grabbed them, and put them under the table.
Yeah, he did. He
and
said,
then picked up a bottle of water and got a big cheer for it.
Drink water, he said.
Is that what he said? Is
Yeah,
it?
drink water.
I think I always find it funny when you see the likes of, you know, Coke or Lucozade or any of these sponsoring sport. Like, what do you expect? Like, you know, it's not the most healthiest of things sponsoring the you know, what should be healthy.
Yeah, but to be fair, if you look at the sport has been one of the key vehicles for the kind of the dark industries of gambling, sugar, alcohol for years and years. It's been the staple of. I mean, ultimately, you're not okay. The sports people are healthy. Sports fans aren't necessarily renowned for being, you know, the kind of most athletic or the most again, very, very stereotypical here. Like, but I mean, ultimately, that's the target audience they're going for. But as a result of that, Coca-Cola's shares dropped from $56.10 to $55.22. Which doesn't sound like a lot when you say it like that, but it overall means the company's value has dropped from $242 billion to $238 billion, which for those
how they'll sleep tonight.
$4 billion, which isn't insignificant considering
for
that
them it's pocket money.
Well, it's pocket money, but it's a hell of a lot more than they would have spent. Like, ultimately, like, they would have spent whatever amount of millions on the sponsorship of. And now they've looked at that going, well, we spent, say, 100 million and we've lost 4 billion. Do you know what I mean? It's not exactly fucking pocket change either. Like, do you know what I mean?
A big red on that Excel
it's a
sheet.
it's a big. Oh, look at I've got the graph here in front of me. You can see, obviously, the listeners can't see it, but that's a big drop.
It's a big drop.
It's a big drop, yeah. So, like, I mean, no, look, but look, I mean, ultimately, again, it just shows you, even in a traditional, like okay, their sponsorship in that particular regard is traditional, it's sponsorship based, but in a digital world, if you have influencers, which Ronaldo is, I think he's number 1 in the world at the moment in terms of his
most
impact.
followers and stuff like that. He was like the most followers and biggest influencer, as you said, like, you know, he's definitely up there.
And he's and ultimately, look, you put 2 bottles of Coke in front of him, fine, but he is a right to do that.
Oh,
like,
all he has to do,
like,
like, even if he didn't put me, even if you just tipped one over, it's going to make a money difference. Like,
you'd wonder why they didn't. Like, I mean, it might have been smarter for I mean, look, like, again, it is sports and stuff like that. And I'm sure they are having that meeting at this very moment in time. They own several water companies. Like, they own Smart Water, I'm sure.
But once again, going back to everything we talked about, us talking about this, it's on every news now. Like, is it the worst thing in the world for Coke? No, it's fucking brilliant because everyone now is talking about Coca-Cola.
No, I disagree entirely. No, that
they're
your logic
they
makes
are
no
not
sense.
going to lose sales in the long term from it.
They lost 4 billion.
Yeah, but it's Coca-Cola. They are going to come back next week.
Oh no, I'm not saying the company's going to go out of business, but you cannot say that this is a good thing in any way, shape, or form.
I know,
you say, everyone is talking about Coca-Cola. Everyone knows Coca-Cola anyway.
Exactly.
All of these brands, like, engage in this kind of high level sponsorship because they already have a position in the mind of the consumer. They just need to keep it there. So it's a different, like, when you're talking about the marketing of Coca-Cola, it's very different to talking about the marketing of an up and coming brand that doesn't have that positioning. A lot of these historic brands rely on just maintaining that level of awareness, and this awareness is not good awareness, particularly if you think up and coming consumers are more interested in health and fitness. They are more interested in looking after themselves. There's been a massive increase in Coke Zero in recent times for this very, very reason. And you combine that with someone like Cristiano, who has millions of followers. He says drink water. There's gonna be a lot of people drink water.
I know. No, I do agree. I think we'll see it. We'll see hashtag drink water now coming out as a trend now, and we'll see TikTok videos. We'll see everything coming out over the next week or so. But I don't think it's not going to shut Coca-Cola down. Like, you know.
Of course it's not. That's a stupid comment. Of course it's not going to fucking shut them down. But it's a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. Hashtag drink water.
Hashtag drink water. Yeah. Well, I have a coffee in front of me. Highly caffeinated beverage.
Sorry, it's not Coca-Cola. There's our sponsorship of Coca-Cola gone.
I like Coke Zero, but they've done with Coke Zero has been phenomenal.
I do think it was very clever changing the colours up there
from the
recently
black
and
to the
stuff.
red.
Yeah,
very very
went
clever.
from black a good long time ago, didn't it?
Well, it was Coke Zero eventually, and now it's called Coca Cola Zero Sugar.
Yeah,
so they've totally rebranded
but
it.
reversing the colours, making them all red cans.
Yeah,
Just it is very, very clever. Like, are they gone back? Am I right in saying? No, they're not. They're sticking with them slimmer cans, I think. Are they? Or are they gone back to the fatter ones again?
No, because the sugar tax means that there's less portion in the slimmer cans.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, so it's
the
a
same
tax
size.
thing. It's a tax thing, I think.
Yeah. It makes it also you drink it quicker and you think you have less in it.
No, it is, but it's actually like I've noticed even myself. Like I drink a can, and that's actually enough. I wouldn't have a full can.
It reminds me of, do you remember the old ones, the mini ones? You used to get the big on in the mouth.
Oh, the little picnic
it
ones.
Me
Fucking haven't seen them in a while. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Bringing back memories.
Yeah.
I suppose anything else exciting before the main bit of news, I suppose.
What's the main bit of news?
I don't know. I was hoping you had something.
Oh, for God's sake. The only other one that this is going to be a very shortened episode, obviously.
Is,
the only other one which is not it's not marketing as such, but sure, we never talk about marketing anyway. But there was a law passed recently enough, I think it was this week, quite a complex law, and I'm not saying that I know a huge amount about it or that I've decrypted it in any way, just before people start shouting going, oh, that's not what it is. I know that's not what it is. I'm giving you the cliff notes,
the Dr. Dave Alton version,
the law for dummies kind of version of it. But basically there are new stop and search laws that have basically been brought out, which are going to allow on Gardaí Síochána to request that you give them your passwords for your electronic devices, so your iPads, tablets, phones, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they made it big about the phones, but it's not just phones. It's actually
it's all devices, electronic devices, and if you do not comply, you could be slapped with a fine of up to 30,000 and 5 years in prison.
Lovely.
So it's I have to say it's quite interesting, and it does make sense to a certain extent.
I'm on the side that if there is and that's where it's grey area. If there is warrant to go and do it, and not a warrant, I think you should. That's where you kind of get into the stage of you need a warrant to search.
No, it's not warrant. It's this is stop and search.
But that's what I'm saying. Sorry, but what I'm trying to say is it justified? Is it warranted that you can search someone's phone? It's not just here. Give me that. Let me look. Do you know? Is there a cause for why are you looking at someone's phone?
Yeah, but you have to.
So I think there has to be almost guidelines or rules or whatever that. What is the level it gets to that you need to search someone's phone?
Which is where the complexity comes in now. I think, to be fair, because there's a lot of stats over, I think it's in the UK in particular, and in the not the UK, the US, where if you look at stop and search, there is a disproportionate amount of blacks are searched rather than whites and stuff like that. So I think what's important here is that why you are stopping someone and who needs to be logged, and that needs to be reported on, just so there's no discrimination going on.
70% of young people. It's probably going to be more than that. It's going to be all young people like that.
Of course it is. Yeah, no, of course it is.
So
but
next thing is going to be discrimination against young people.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, the difference is that if you look at how we now view crime, it's always through the lens of someone's phone. So if you have got evidence on your phone and the Gardaí need access to it, then ultimately, like, them having that access to that information is surely probably a good thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But there's the more granular layers then as well, where again, what's your reason for stopping someone? Do you know, like if you've got a
like obviously if you stop and search someone and you have a reason to put in their phone, something happened in front of you. So whether it's they've took pictures or videos,
well, it's either that or they're known. So a lot of drug dealing happens now online in WhatsApp or whatever the story is, and because WhatsApp's technically encrypted, it's more difficult to get access to it. You know what I mean? So again, it kind of circumvents that in many ways. And we know there's been there's been an infiltration of delivery platforms and stuff like that being used for drugs and stuff like that. So I think it's interesting. There's now, that also being said, there's a lot of research. Like there's a lot of research out there that shows that technology can be used for good in relation to illicit consumption. So one of my colleagues, Dr. Stephen O'Sullivan, published a paper a number of years ago which looked at pillreports.com, and it talks about, well, there's a gap in the market in terms of educating people about illicit drugs, because our education of illicit drugs in secondary school and above is basically drugs are bad, don't take them. You have to operate under the assumption that people are still going to take drugs. So therefore, how do you mediate or mitigate against the bad effects of the taking of certain illegal substances, and it's on that consumer-based platform, which is based on this concept of market mavenism, or consumers who help other consumers, saying, I bought this bag off of this particular drug dealer, this stuff is really, really bad, I got a bad hit off it, it's not good drugs, there's whatever in it. And there's other people then saying, oh no, this stuff is good. And you see it at festivals as well, there's a lot more of a move towards, you know, bringing your tablets or whatever to a drug testing tent, making sure that they're okay and all the rest of it. So again, I think it's like, it's very, and again, this is probably a little bit left of field in terms of giving the police your PIN number, but ultimately there is a worthwhile use for technology in terms of helping people's consumption, particularly when it comes to illicit behavior. And ultimately, if you do we have to stop people behaving badly, that's not going to work. So therefore, it's how to use technology to mitigate or mediate against.
I also think it shows how, on the other side of it, it shows how kind of out of date still, you know, we've talked about different laws in terms of online, you know, slander online and all this kind of stuff. It shows how out of date we are with technology, that only something like this is being brought in now, whereas how long have there's been issues with this?
It's complicated. Like the constant thing is that technology moves very, very quickly, and lawmaking happens very, very slowly. Yeah. So as soon as the law comes in, something else has moved on. You know, so like, I mean, it's a difficult space. Look, I think overall, to make a very, very simplistic argument of it, if you don't do anything wrong, then ultimately, you know, it's not going to impact you. But there are other circumstances then where I can see, do you know what I mean, even people now in business are using WhatsApp. Is there confidential information there that then people can get access? Do you know what I mean? There's a huge grey area in terms of what you can access and what you're allowed to use and all this type of stuff. So my understanding of it is that it's a very, very complex law. There are not clear rules and regulations there in terms of why you can take someone's phone and get their PIN and stuff like that. But look, it's and there's to some circumstance where obviously fucking pedophiles and stuff like that, obviously, yeah, they're not going to hand over their PIN anyway. But it's going to be interesting to see how it's actually applied and how it actually works. But it's an interesting step. Interesting step
indeed. So following on, I suppose what's caused a bit of back and forth chat for us for the last couple of days has been on the back of it's basically a summer course that's been launched down in IT Carlow, being aimed at secondary school students. I think it's transition years to sixth year, so more on the senior years. But it's basically a digital crash course, a week long digital crash course in basically building a brand, building a business online. I think it said that you're going to develop an online presence, build a business, launch a fan page, or launch a social justice campaign. And we've been back and forth chatting. We've talked about it so many times over the last couple of episodes where, you know, we've talked about Instagram for kids and Messenger for kids and, you know, YouTube and just basically all the platforms going down the years, we'll say, you know, and grabbing people at a younger age and getting them hooked on the platforms. But this is on another level. This is now hitting, whether you agree, there's reasons for agreeing or disagreeing, but we're going to see a lot more of these kind of courses popping up where it's people targeting younger students to get them involved in this whole area of being an influencer, we'll call it, at a younger age. Did you see, you know, have a look a little into maybe what the course is providing? Or
yeah, so I think, look, for the start, just to be clear, this is funded by the Higher Education Authority.
Who employs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I am obviously employed by a third level institution. I am also involved in a kind of a similar type summer camp within my own university, which is more focused on entrepreneurship, which is also funded by the Higher Education Authority. So again, there's an element there is a conflict of interest here somewhat.
No, but I think there's pros and cons to these, right? Okay, and we'll start off with what you just said you're involved in one, so we'll start off with that one. What does that do?
So what we basically do is, and I speak at it as opposed to being in the organisation of it, but ultimately what we do is that we bring, it's almost like a dragon.
You're the keynote speaker.
It's almost like, oh, absolutely, yeah, pre-recorded, of course, but it's almost like a Dragon's Den type scenario, whereby students come in, they're put into groups, and obviously it's different now because it's online. But what we would have done pre-COVID is students would come in, they would, again, the same kind of age core, transition year, kind of up to sixth class there, or sixth year, is it? Whatever it is. So the kind of older age cohort, they'd be put into groups, they're asked to come up with a product, and then they almost go through the product development stage. So learning about, you know, rudimentary market research, validating your idea, communication in terms of presentation, the marketing of it, what tools are available to you, all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of a mix of fun business challenges
how
mixed
long is
in.
this?
It's over about 3 days.
Tough enough for 3 days, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, it is good, and look, the students get a lot out of it. And look, you can, like, to be fair, a lot of the ideas that come through, they're actually quite good. Like, you know, particularly for the level that you're talking about. Like, a number of years ago, I remember there was one where, and you almost see digital companies now doing this, where you'd almost have like a local kind of a docket book. You know, at the moment you've got loyalty schemes, and they're all just done. They're all done by individual businesses. These, I think it was 3 or 4 students basically came together and they created almost like a loyalty book which you would buy, but it would give you access to loyalty schemes across every business in a small kind of a village or whatever, which is kind of like what the likes of Squid are doing now, right? Ultimately, it's kind of a cumulative points kind of a system, whatever the story is. So again, for the age cohort that you're talking about, it's exciting to see young entrepreneurs up and coming and stuff like that. So that being said, I read the kind of blurb here. We should actually get the blurb up just to make sure that I don't misrepresent anything.
So I think, as you said there, that's kind of your one's kind of definitely down the
It's not my one, to be fair. It's UCC one. I've nothing.
UCC.
I just do a speaking bit at it.
You just put them all off the whole idea of going down that route at the end of it.
Yeah.
Go into accountancy, lads.
I've never ever recommended that to my students.
But I think that, so as I said, the UCC one is definitely down the entrepreneur route. That one's like that mini business module that a lot of people do in like transition years.
It's the exact same thing. And I was one of the CEOs for our mini company back in the day.
Is it worth a fortune?
No, it wasn't. We won the All Ireland.
What did you do?
It was sponsored by Coca. It was called
sponsored by Coca.
It was sponsored by Coca Cola. Yeah, great. But it was a mini company. It was kind of like you'd get involved in a battle of the bands. So you'd be an agent for 2 artists, and you'd basically promote them online, and then you create your business plan. You do other little fundraising things and stuff. And we raised like 20 grand or something. It was good. It was decent, like, and we won in the All Ireland's up in the. I want to say the Button Factory. Yeah. I think that's where it was. Yeah. I think that's where it was. I've been to Temple Bar a lot since, and I wasn't involved in any mini company competitions. I can guarantee you that. But look, so what the course says is that if you're a TY or a senior cycle secondary school student and fancy developing your online presence, building a little business online, or launching a fan page or a social justice campaign, or you just want to meet some fantastic online movers and shakers, then the Digital Hustle Summer School is for you. We've lined up a lot of big name influencers and some interesting young hustlers for you to meet, be inspired and make connections with these young people who are getting out there and making a name for themselves, and a few extra euros too.
Okay. My first issue with it is what they call it.
The hustle stuff,
digital hustle, whatever they called it. Just the word hustle. I think we've seen it. I don't think anyone maybe from the outside kind of knows about it, maybe, you know, and I think we've talked about it here, the whole affiliation, I suppose, that word has now with the likes of a Gary Vaynerchuk or those kind of people. That is, in our eyes, yes, some of the stuff he says is absolutely brilliant. He's obviously built a great brand, but we've talked about it here, sometimes he's leading people down a dark path, we'll say it, you know, and I think that is what I wouldn't like to see coming out of something like this. If they have, it depends who's teaching it, is my big thing. Like, you know, is it people that are actually involved? Like,
it's both. It's a combination. I think there's a number of influencers. To be fair, we're not going to name names because they may be communicating. We don't know what they're communicating, right? So we don't know if it's going to be good, bad, positive. We don't know. And there's a couple of academics, some business guys and stuff like that. It's a mix. To be fair, it looks very, very similar to what we're doing in UCC in terms of the Entrepreneur Summer Camp. My issue is that when I hear the title hustle, I hear influencers, and the problem is that there are a lot of kids out. I think there was a survey done recently, where they asked kids, what do you want to go in what do you want to be when you grow up? And instead of saying like fireman or whatever the story is, they said, I want to be a YouTube influencer. Which is very, very, it's a dangerous path that we're leading people down. Some people are very, very good at it. I know that there is a kid of an entrepreneur that I'm doing a bit of consultancy with. He's after setting up his own kind of not quite drop shipping, but he basically buys in kind of retro runners and things like StockX and stuff like that, and then resells them then at a profit. Really, really entrepreneurial kid, only whatever 13, 14, making a few bob for himself. Really, really do your thing. Do you know what I mean? Another one of my colleagues, then their kid is making a fortune selling skins on Fortnite. I say a fortune, for like 12, 13-year-old, whatever the story is. So there are those interesting stories out there.
But see, a lot of people that go into that kind of line where they end up creating a YouTube channel, we'll say, or creating a decent following on Instagram or whatever, on the back of doing something like this, they've done the first part of it out of a passion or out of an interest, and then it leads on to, do you know what, I may as well put up somewhere what I'm doing basically. And then they get a bit of traction, and then they decide, you know what, obviously I'm getting a bit of traction and getting a few thousand followers or views and likes, whatever it is, I'll start monetizing it.
Yeah,
that's grand. They went down the right alley first. They didn't go, do you know what, I'm going to become a YouTuber. There is that kind of that cab before horse thing almost, like, do you know what I mean? But I think the main thing here is that the kids that are going into any summer camp or anything, and it's the same with the entrepreneur stuff. Like, entrepreneurship is fucking hard. It's really, really hard. For every 10 businesses that are set up, 9 fail. And even within that, I think there's only like 10% of the population within even business that even think about going down the entrepreneurship route, right? There is nothing wrong with a 9-to-5 job. That's one thing that needs to be communicated very, very clearly, because there's this kind of hustle porn generation that has kind of emerged recently, where it's kind of like, you need to work. You need to work your. If you're not.
You need to work your. But you need to get up at 6 a.m. You need to go to the 2 hours sleep. Go to the gym. Go to your 9-to-5. Go home. Run your other business, and basically run yourself into the ground, basically. And we all know entrepreneur stories. They're incredibly hardworking, impressive people. However, if you are impressing upon young minds, which you are doing in this instance, this idea of becoming a social influencer, you also need to warn them of the dangers of this and not be filling their heads full of nonsense. Being an influencer is not a solid job. Like, this idea of kids coming out of their leaving cert and going, I'm not going to go to college because I'm going to become an influencer, is completely fucking insane. And that needs to be communicated.
And like any business or any course that would be in UCC or any college, the more people that go into it, the more people that come out of it, the more saturated the market is, the less jobs there is.
Oh yeah, of course.
In a simple way. The more people that go onto Instagram and say, I want to become an influencer, and next thing change their thing to public figure, which I can hate, on that option on Instagram to have your page as, no, you are not Bill Gates, no, you are not a public figure.
You're the who's who of who's not, as the man said, But no, look, it's and I think the I don't know what the secondary school education is like nowadays, but look, kids do need to be educated more about technology, both the pros of it and the cons of it. I'm not saying that all technology is evil. It's here to stay. We need to fucking deal with it.
Learn how to use it.
So that stuff needs to be there. The dangers of this also needs to be highlighted. I'm not talking about the extremes here of catfishing or just some old fella fucking up the country looking to get some young one's number or something like that. I'm not talking about that side of things. I'm talking about the socio-psychological damage or impact that being an influencer, because again, you create a page, doesn't matter what age you are, people are going to be criticizing you. They're going to be saying nasty things about you, and at that age you are probably not old enough, or you don't have the thick enough skin to understand that no, people are just fucking assholes. It's not actually you. This is just the environment that people are in. Do you know what I mean? So, like, even there's people like experienced entrepreneurs, and we know some of them, and some of them just go, I'm getting off Twitter, I'm getting off LinkedIn, it's toxic, I can't fucking deal with this anymore.
But going back to what you said there, it was reminding me when you were talking about, the whole idea of this hustle porn and working every day apart from 2 hours that you probably crash for. You think, we already mentioned there about Bill Gates, and you talk about Jeff Bezos and all these kind of huge entrepreneurs. But when they were building this business, they didn't have online, so they weren't running this business and every 5 minutes on Instagram stories.
Oh yeah, no, it's 360.
So now we look at all these guys like the likes of Gary Vaynerchuk or any of these, and they have a camera crew following them around, putting out content because they've already made it, but making it look like they're starting this business. No, they have huge multi-million businesses behind them. They have the time that they can go and do it because they have a huge team of 100 people.
The problem is that if you have this conversation with anyone who is in the influencer space, they will point to 1, 2, 10, 20, 100 people who've gone down this route and they're making substantially more money than I am as an academic, and they're going, you're just jealous, what the hell are you talking about? The problem is that you show me one successful influencer and I'll show you thousands who have failed. And like, it's not that you failed. Again, people just use social media for whatever reason, but people who actively try and become these influencers or something like that, especially at such a young age, there are scenarios where people are, and parents don't know how to deal with it. Like if your kid's on the football team and they're not playing, a lot of parents can relate with that because they've been in some sort of situation like that and they can deal with it. Someone talking about, I'm getting abused online, parents just don't know how to comprehend. Oh well, where are you being abused? How are you being abused? Can I get access to this person? It's such a complex environment. And then, like, you've got an Institute of Technology and they're promoting this. I just hope that with any of these courses, doesn't matter whether it's an entrepreneurship one, whether it's focusing on influencers, whatever, that the kids are educated in terms of the pitfalls, the complexities, the issues. The kids aren't stupid. They know this stuff better than we do, almost, because they grew up with it entirely.
I actually saw, I think it was actually Gary Vaynerchuk put up a thing during the week that it was going on about parents and kids, and it was like, I'm fed up. He said, I'm fed up of hearing parents give out that their kids are not sociable. You know, that they're not out playing on the streets like they did when they were kids, not out playing curbs and all this kind of stuff. But his argument was, no, shut up. They're the most sociable people that have ever been on the planet because they're talking to more people than anyone ever did before. Yes, it's online, but that was his argument, that there's more conversation going on.
Yeah, okay, so that goes to the classic argument, which is always that it's volume against depth of relationship, yes. Right? So again, there's this concept of parasocial relationships, where you have a relationship, you're in a community without actually being would you call on one in an emergency? Exactly, kind of that kind of thing. So that, again, that's it. Look, that's a different debate. you'd ring me now if you're in trouble and I'd hang up. Do you know, that kind of thing? Oh, absolutely. You're drowning. Fucking should have learned how to swim.
Bring your armbands.
Bring your armbands next time. Yeah. No, look, it's interesting. We should have more courses like this. I just hope that they're structured. I do love the idea of courses that will be like, crash course for creating video, crash course on Facebook advertising, whatever it is. But this isn't that. This is specifically calling out becoming an influencer.
Yes, and that is my issue. And I just want them to be careful about how they do it, as you said.
Yeah. No, it is. I worry for even the thought of, like, I mean, what it is the equivalent of is us signing up to a course with a college a number of years ago, where the name of the course would have been How to Become a Celebrity. It's a bit fucking stupid. And again, I think it's probably, the title is a little bit misleading, and look, they have to sell this and all the rest of it, that's fine. But I'd be interested in the content in and of itself, do you know what I mean? And again, I have a conflict of interest here, Higher Education Authority fund, again, all the rest of it. But I just think it's important to have the discussion, I think. And again, I think people we're probably overtly negative on this particular podcast, and we should probably do a proper...
Are we?
Oh, well, I am. But I think that's good emphasis there. I enjoyed that. But I just think that there's a nuance and a very, very complicated discussion that needs to happen about these things. And I would be very, very interested in the content. Look, what are they going to be told at these kind of events?
I work in it. We both do. We love social media. For what it can bring. It's just there is parts of it that need to be watched out for, and I think a lot of younger people can't be led down that wrong path. I love nothing more than seeing someone doing well on social media because of a passion they had, and and they get to this level of, yes, they get branded under the term micro influencer or whatever it is. They get a couple of thousand followers for themselves because they're professional in their field, we'll say.
Yeah.
I love nothing more than seeing that, and I love that they get a bit of attention. And so what? If someone
success
wants to
stories are great, but I've done success stories.
Look, I work in it at the moment, but a brand I used to work with, for food, giving these people, like, they don't want to be paid. Some of these, they just want free. They love the notion of getting free product from a company, to talk about it. So they will do a brand far more justice than someone that's out to earn money and out because they think this is a job.
Oh yeah, but I think this is there's a big difference between us talking about influencers who are whatever age and they're promoting brands, whatever, different conversation. We are talking about educating people.
No, yes.
And again, the way that it's kind of framed is, Joe, build your online presence and stuff like that. Again, I just hope that it's an honest conversation.
You love that word, that whole personal brand, like, you know.
I fucking hate it so much. Why can't we just have individuals? Like, why can't people be just people? Why does everyone have to be a brand? Why can't people just be individuals and people? Like, why can't we refer to people as just people? That guy, like, instead of saying, oh, he's a great entrepreneur, or he's got a great personal brand. Like, what the fuck, you know? But even I say it to the college kids. I say it. This idea of becoming an influencer, passionate, and fucking all the rest of it. Find out what you're good at. Yeah. Do what you are good at, and don't be. Again, we had the conversation with sorry, I can't remember his name now. Galway from Cork. Dinny. Yeah, apologies. Could not remember the name. The old fucking. I can't remember a thing these days. I swear to God, the being locked in for the last 15 months is fucking catching up on me. But we made a very, very good point during that conversation where it's like the best influencers. Inside that I know are the guys that are really, really good at singing, they're good at making food, they're good at whatever, and being an influencer is a byproduct of that because they're good at something. They're known as, you know, a good filmmaker, they're known as a good whatever. They're not known as like a good influencer because that's such a broad term. It covers such a spectrum. So again, I just hope that with something like this, the clear dangers, boundaries, complexities. We're not selling, and again, I'm not saying that we should be stomping out people's passions at the age of bloody 16. Do you know what I mean? Like, they should be allowed to go and explore different things, but the dangers that we see with things like
to me,
influencers is dangerous.
It's not something you set out to do. It's not I want to be an influencer. I want to promote brands. It's not something.
And there are people who've done it and they've been successful, but again, it's a minority. It's very, very small.
But they've come from something. They've done something. They're known in some sort of field to build that following. It's not set up my Instagram account, I'm going to be an influencer, and next thing, because you're not going to get to 10,000 followers with that attitude. You know, 100%. Like you're going to basically be throwing yourself all over the place and not known for anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, we're not knocking. Like, there's a college student in one of the courses that I'm doing at the moment. She's an entrepreneur. She's turning over, I think, something like $100,000 a month or something like that. Like, doing incredible work altogether. So those are the things you look at and go, absolutely. But that's an incredibly impressive individual. The majority of people cannot do that. No. There are seasoned business people in their 20s, 30s, 40s that could not do that. Do you know what I mean? So I think it again, it just needs to be a complex argument, and don't treat the kids as stupid either. They probably know more about this stuff than we do.
True, very true.
So therefore, treat technology and this kind of stuff with the respect it deserves, and treat them with the respect they deserve in terms of how they're going to consume this information, and don't be selling them the sun, the moon, and the stars. Because again, we say it in the entrepreneurs. I say it to them, lads, the majority of you are not going to become entrepreneurs. Of those of you that do become entrepreneurs, 90% of you are going to fail. Mm-hmm. That's not me stamping
or work for the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing fucking wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing, like, again, there's this kind of culture, this kind of dangerous entrepreneurial culture after kind of emerging recently. And again, it's just that not everyone can do it. Do you know what I mean? And people are kind of pushed into that particular area. So no, I just think that again, entrepreneurship is hugely important. People being empowered and doing things is incredibly important, particularly at a young age. I come across students on a weekly basis who are doing absolutely phenomenal things. They go on to do even more phenomenal things outside of once they graduate, whatever the course may be, or whatever the case may be. But again, it's just the education piece. You just need to be careful about it. You know.
Definitely need to be careful.
I've said it about 14 times already, but I need to. Do you know why? Because I've got a conflict of interest.
I think talking about not the conflict of interest, but I think the one thing that stood out to me, and
what stood out to you? Tell me.
Among the topics included in the program, it could be very good. Like, you know,
we're still going on with this.
Yeah.
All right, go on. You're going to get me in trouble. Like.
The topics included in the program are the psychology of memes. That's the one thing that I was like, I don't get that. The rest of it was grand, like brand building, how to tell your story online. We get all that bit, but it was the psychology of memes.
There is a whole area of study around memes. What
they gather attention.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is a whole psychology around.
10 years ago, they
I know the old fucking the old. I mean, they've kind of made a bit of a comeback with TikTok. To be fair, I do like a good meme. I have to say.
Do you?
Yeah.
Gives a chuckle, does it?
It does me an old chuckle. It rocks my world.
I'm putting that out.
What it rocks my world.
Dave Alton,
Yeah, along with whatever you said earlier on. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Bang and Wallop.
Yeah, Bang and Wallop. Bang and Wallop means rock my world.
Right, I think we'll leave it there. We will be back next week with another episode.
Maybe. Depends how busy we all are.
Well, you might have a lot of free time in your hand now.
I might have. No, I think all my comments are very, very fair.
You are, yeah. You didn't insult anyone, I don't think.
I didn't know, but it's not.
And if they have a free spot for a keynote guest lecture,
no, I'm doing my own. I'm doing my own. No, and it's a conversation that doesn't need to happen. Educating within a digital world needs to change. How we educate, what we're educating about. Looking at the business side of things. Identifying the dangers of things. We teach. We've an advertising module, for example, in the university, and within that it's talking about media buying, placement, capturing attention, all that kind of stuff is built in. But then there's also a case on kind of consumer culture and the culture around advertising in and of itself, and that's talking about kind of sexualization, gentrification, zoomorphism, all this kind of stuff that happens within advertising and how advertising is contributed to societal structure.
Teach you how to look out for it almost.
How to almost decode, interpret. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that I'm not saying you should go heavy, but I mean that's the kind of stuff that you could start educating people about a bit younger. Do you know what I mean? Because
we'll go back to the word. These influencers are not doing this because it's something they're interested in. No, they're doing this. They're doing this specifically because the brand wants them to do this. They're putting hashtag ad there for this reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just people. The more people are informed, younger, the more they structure the world that they grow up in.
Smelling ad a mile away. That's it.
I got it. Yeah. And then it's still info. Like Club Orange brought out a new can of drink, and I bought it because it looked cool.
I got the Fat Frog. During the week they Club brought out Fat Frog.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It's not the same as those being, we'll say 18 in a pub ordering 2 pints in a straw.
Well, I can imagine you as a fella in Wexford going up a big grug. Can I have 2 pints of Fat Frog, please?
Oh, yeah.
Hold the umbrella.
No, there was one pub in where I'm from now, and they used to do Frosties. They used to taste like the lollipop Frosties.
Oh, they were I remember that. They were the red little shots. Yeah, I remember.
But I used to get them in pints.
I didn't used to get. Maybe I did. I don't know.
Frosties
I've been 18 for a long time, man.
Oh no! I'm surprised you remember back then.
A long time.
Right, we'll leave it there, and we'll be back next week with another episode. And you can follow us online, keep in touch, and take care, guys. Thanks very much.
Talk to you later.